but did you die though? And as like dramatic and aggressive as that is, that's for sure something that I still carry with me. Imposter syndrome is so funny because how are you literally doubting the things that you've done? You've already done it. I feel like that's such a fantastic illustration of how deep everything athletics, sports, being a coach's daughter runs in my blood, but also in my story. Get really comfortable with the idea that what you're doing will not be understood by the people in your circle.
Why is it called the kitchen and not the gym?
Ooh.
Claudia Ramirez, empowering you to become the optimal leader of your life. Let's turn on the Mindset Mic.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mic. Ooh, we're in for a good one because I am with Kaiya Williams here. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a long time coming.
Yes.
And I want to prepare you because this is one of those conversations where, you know, those people where, you know how you hear the phrase can of worms? For a positive, I see a jar of butterflies. And when I think of you, I think of a jar of butterflies because this could be like a series of conversations where you could talk about so many topics. I am so curious to hear so much about your journey because a little insight for those who are just meeting Kaiya or just even our relationship. I had just moved to New York.
Yes.
One of my videos went out there quite a bit and you followed me, you connected with me. I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is amazing. And you invited me to one of your events with the kitchen.
Yes.
I was 3 weeks in.
Yes.
And guys, I still didn't know how to use the subways. I was looking at my watch or like at the time freaking out because I knew it was dark and I was always getting lost, going in the wrong direction. And it was actually a very funny moment where I went upstairs in the hotel to this real estate event.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So, I mean, this was just like, I showed my full personality in all my colors and she just welcomed it. I go upstairs to this real estate event. My name isn't there. And I thought it was because it was last minute. Yes. And so I grab a plate, I'm about to sit down. And then they're like, so like, how much are you investing today? And or like, what do you invest in? And I said, excuse me, what? Like, I don't do this. I was like, let me go to the right room. And then you were there with open arms and just so welcoming. And I have to say thank you because I walked in here into the city without knowing a single soul. And your event is one of the events that really helped me dive in and meet wonderful souls. Not only you, but also people who I'm still connected with, people who I still seek insight with, people who I still talk to on a regular basis. And that is because of your vision. You had no idea what you were doing whenever you DM me, like the impact that you were really having. And so for that, I want to say thank you. And I want to ask you, as an entrepreneur, because you wear many hats, you are that jar of butterflies. How did you begin this journey? What inspired you to create this empire for yourself?
Yeah. Well, thank you for all of that. I'm like over here trying not to get teary-eyed. That at this point, I know better than to question. And so when I'm very intuitive. When I get that gut feeling, good or bad, I run with it. And there are a lot of challenges that I probably could have avoided in my life had I just, kind of dove headfirst there and used that rule. But you have to learn that, right? So when I saw your video, and I remember exactly which one it was, you were part of or had hosted a meetup, and it was a seemingly random, like not really run club, but sort of run club. And I don't know, I saw your smile and I saw the video, and I don't run. Like, I feel like we should put that out. You are not going to find me running. So it definitely wasn't, oh my gosh, a fellow runner, like we can go on a run together. That was not the vibe at all. But I saw you and I started looking at your page and I'm like, this just seems like such a bright person. Just such a kind soul. And like, I don't know what she's building. I don't know. I thought you had been here. I was like, we're just going to see. I just feel like she has a really cool story and we're going to get along. And like, let's just see what happens. So I'm so glad that you joined us that night, and you are exactly the type of woman that I created the kitchen to attract. So I'm so glad that your being there was as impactful for you as it was for me. But to answer your question, what kind of planted the seed of entrepreneurship, of building this empire? I think we're on the road to the empire. I don't know that we're there yet. but I have two answers. My serious answer is I am such a helper. I always want to help. I always want to lift out, reach out a hand, lift people up. And I've always been that way. And I was really frustrated by a lot of things that I saw kind of just as I got older in the world. Like I would just have these questions of, okay, if we've got so much money, like in the world, per country, however you want to look at it, why do we still have people who don't have food to eat? If we, like things like that. And I am not jumping straight from like me, getting people paid for Instagram posts equals solving world hunger. But I would look at things like that and I was like, okay, well, that means that we've got people who are allegedly the most intelligent, the most well-connected, doing the best financially that don't have all the answers. So if that's the case, then I guess I've got a shot at least at something, right? So then I was like, okay, we're just going to keep experimenting. I've always liked to build. I've always been very curious. So I was the one, at 8 years old who was at the family parties and I'd be hanging out with all the adults and like just listening to the parents fly on the wall. Like, oh, that's so interesting. I can't believe so-and-so from the office would act like that. She would say that at the water cooler. And it's like, Kaiya, you're 10. Gosh. Like, what do you... as my friends are like, no, come on. And I'm like, no, you gotta hear this. Right. You gotta hear this. And that sweater was disgusting. No.
Comes back with all the tea.
Exactly.
Sweater.
Exactly. So I think that just kind of evolved, and I joke with my friends all the time and we're like, don't tempt us with a good time. So for me, it was don't tempt me with an opportunity. Ooh. And it's still that, to be honest. So I was talking to one of my friends, who's an incredible founder as well. And she was like, what's going on today? And I was like, oh, well, I just closed this client, so I got to do this and I got to do this. And she's like, I just know a client hate to see you coming. She said, I feel like every time I talk to you, you're closing people. And I'm like, that's what it looks like. Like, it's not what it feels like all the time. But I think I'm addicted to the progress and the challenge. And that is what, at this point, keeps me going. What got me here was there can be better that's done. And I know the type of impact that I want to have before I leave this version of, my existence. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, if I know that that's what I want to do, and I know that it's out there, whether it's, the resources or it's the capital or it's the people, then I've got to do what I can to bridge the gap, right? How do I get from here to there? So here we are.
It's a beautiful story and a beautiful journey. We've talked, have you watched All American? So there is a character, her name's Olivia Baker, and she's a coach's daughter.
Okay.
And I've been watching All American, and it's just been like, because sports are a big deal, like in the journey.
Yeah.
And I know you're a coach's daughter.
I am.
How did that shape your journey? Because when I'm watching this now, I think of you. Yeah. And she uses the term like, I'm a coach's daughter. Do you forget that? Or like, she's so great. How did that shape you? What was your upbringing like? Because the way that you think isn't the most traditional or the most common. And I say that respectfully and from a point and perspective of admiration. It's not the norm to say, ooh, there's an opportunity. Don't tempt me,
Right.
It's this is what you do. And we just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
That's not the easy, but that's the normal thing to do.
For sure.
And here you are seeking opportunities and creating paths that perhaps you don't need to be doing, but you choose to for a purpose. But what was it for?
Ooh. It's so interesting that you identify that because I think when we had our first kind of deep conversation after the event, I mentioned this and I was like, you'll understand because you're an athlete. But I always joke that, athlete was my second language. And I'll see if I can find the photo if you want to use it in editing. But there's a picture of me in the squat rack. I'm like, I think leaning over a barbell at 2 years old. And I feel like that's such a fantastic illustration of how deep everything athletics, sports, being a coach's daughter runs in my blood, but also in my story. Mm-hmm. And not many people really get that. So the ways that it's manifested have been so many layers that I'm honestly still piecing together. I feel like a lot of things that have popped up even over the past year that I'm like, oh, that came from the gym. Like, that's crazy. That's really insane. I think at the root, definitely perseverance. We used to have this saying in the gym, or rather this expression, and the whole point was for it to be kind of a mindset anchor to immediately kind of snap you back to what actually mattered. And so you'd walk into the gym and you'd hear it, you know, being thrown around at any given time from the coaches. But essentially it was this anecdote of, but did you die? Right? So yes, the weight on the bar was more plates than you wanted, right? You had to do an extra sprint that you didn't want to do. You had to redo those 10 push-ups because that's not the quality that anybody's accepting here. But did you die though? And as like dramatic and aggressive as that is, that's for sure something that I still carry with me. And just that like automatic reframe. Yes, it might be inconvenient. Yes, it might not have gone the way that I wanted it to. It might be taking longer than I wanted it to. But did you die? Is it over? Do you still have another shot? Can you still get back up, get back on the horse, send another email, send another text, you know, whatever it is? Can you still get to the finish line? So I think that's definitely one of them. And then there are a bunch of other, you know, silly things like the ego boost that I still get from being able to say that I was like doing wall squats next to, you know, NFL players at like 10.
My gosh.
Stuff like that. There are assorted races. Like there is still some, I won't name names, but there are some track and field Olympians out there that I'm still saying, and I've said it to their face, that I beat them in races. And they went along with it. They went along with it, to their credit. Yeah. They've got the medals on their walls, not me.
Go to Crown Awards, make your own Olympic medal.
Exactly.
Like, I helped them get there, you know?
Exactly. Yes.
I love that. It's a great mindset because I do agree with that. It's that whole like, did you die? How did it help you grow? How did it shape you and mold you? And it's one of the things that I talk about so much with athletes. I believe that it's 90% mental. Some would argue 20.
Right.
80. 80 or 90%. It doesn't matter. It's a great percentage of your performance.
Majority. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you can leverage, or you can let it tear you down and shape you into something that is hindering you.
Yeah.
Or you can leverage it into something so positive. And for me, when I speak to athletes, I like thinking about how it's going to impact the rest of their life.
Yes.
It's not the right now. It's not just the championship. It's not just kind of like a student, like the next test.
Yeah.
When I was a Spanish teacher, kids, you know, they struggle learning Spanish because they're just learning for like this next test. Same thing with like this next championship.
Yeah.
And then what after that? And you walked away with all these lessons. Let me ask you this. Why is it called the kitchen and not the gym?
Ooh, that's interesting. Well, a couple reasons that immediately come to mind.
Okay.
Genuinely did not consider that at any point. You mentioning that, first time that it had ever come to my mind. Second, if I were to go with anything even remotely related to physical fitness, the amount of either cease and desist or invoices that I would get from my father would never end. No exaggeration. He'd be like, no, you can use the name. I'm only going to take 95% equity in this entity in perpetuity. So don't even worry about it. And then he'd be like, no, go build. We'll see. This will be a test to see if he actually listens to the podcast that I do.
I will be waiting for a direct message, please.
Exactly. And if you don't get one, then we know.
Okay.
But I think the kitchen, what's really interesting is that this is not something that I necessarily set out to build. The kitchen was something that I wanted to join because I grew up, listening to Tony Robbins and like reading Wayne Dyer's books. And, so I was very familiar with the concept of like what a mastermind group meant before I entered high school. And so for me, I'm always trying different things. I had, a bracelet company. I had a drop shipping company. I was building websites on the side. My brother and I had a luxury, resale company at one point. And so we were sourcing everything on our own. We were listening, we were negotiating, like it was sick.
I love this.
And I'm like, okay, well, where are the communities for women who are not post-grad, women who are not necessarily pursuing a corporate track? Like, you're not in your 20s, 30s, 40s already in your career. Like you're still trying to balance your business with high school. And I couldn't find any of that. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just have to figure it out. So I did what I knew how to do and, started cold reaching out to people and was like, listen, you look like you're really good at this thing. I have questions, help. And just kind of went from there and honestly forgot about it until I started mentoring myself. And I had young women who I was like, okay, the next step is that community. It's that in person. It's being able to test your skills, practice your skills. How can you build rapport? Yes, you can do that over Zoom. You can do that over a phone call. But when you can get face to face with somebody, that's a completely different thing. You can pick up on energy, read body language. You can see that subtle shift when you say something that, didn't land the way that you were hoping it would land. And you can tell with a micro expression on the person's face. Mm-hmm. You can't pick all that up over the phone. So I was like, okay, well, where can I send you to get access to this? Yes, I can connect you with people one-on-one, but you need like group. Still couldn't find anything. And then I was like, okay, well, now this is a real problem. Maybe it's been a real problem. I just wasn't, as actively paying attention. So I was like, all right, let's run a couple experiments. Let's see if what I'm seeing is what's really happening. Get some feedback, and then we'll go from there. So did our very first event very unofficially, reached out to some founder friends, was like, hey, doing this thing, getting this room together, going to be a dinner. Do you want to put your product in the gift bags? And we'll just see what happens. It ended up sold out in a city and state that I had never been to, then became, a thing that was being talked about. And I was like, okay, now I need to take a step back. It's like, are we good? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
I was like, okay, now I need to take a step back because I'm also simultaneously on this journey of just because I identify a problem and a solution does not mean that I am the one that needs to present the solution. I'm not the one who needs to solve all the problems that I identify. So I was like, is this one of those, or is this actually something that I'm being called to do? So I was driving in Atlanta, was heading back from, I think, an early morning airport drop off. And I'm just thinking, I was probably listening to a podcast. It was either a podcast or like an R&B playlist. No in between. And the name just came to me. It literally just popped into my head. And if you had come to me with a project, if you right now you were like, this is what I want to do, this is what, I want this new program, this is what what people are going to get out of it, blah, blah, blah. I could probably have 5 name suggestions for you and assorted branding suites in the next hour. But when it comes to my things, it takes me months. The name for my agency, fun fact, my dad came up with it. I settled on it because I couldn't come up with anything else better in 2 months.
Really?
Yes. So with naming my own things, I'm always it takes forever. So I knew when this just came to me and I immediately liked it and then it was available, I was like, okay, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than me. Exactly. So that was part of it. And then I started kind of dissecting and I was like, okay, well, what are the connections here? Why does this make sense? I was almost on Master Chef Junior when I was little.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah. So my dad and I still have a bunch of concepts for restaurants that we want to open at some point in our careers. We actually shot a pilot for a cooking show, which I don't think either of us have spoken about publicly, but that is somewhere out in the ether. So the kitchen was always a very central kind of community space for sure for me and my dad. I was his sous chef. So we used to cook all the time, cook all the things whenever we, and at that point with what was going on in his career, he did not like it, but was required to be outside of the house. He was working pretty aggressive hours, and so we wouldn't see him a lot. And so when he would come back and we'd have time to be in the kitchen, that was when it was hanging out with Dad. So I'd be sitting on the counter and, stirring random things and helping with, taste testing, which was never necessary, but I was always
exactly. Yeah, a must.
Quality control, as I have a whole, can of things. So I'll still taunt him with things when I know he's not going to let me taste it. And I'm like, just let me taste it. And he's like, I've made this for you 47,000 times in your life. You know exactly what it tastes like. And I'm like, that's actually not the point. I need a
reminder.
That's not the point. So that was part of it. And then yes, the MasterChef tie-in. And then it was also looking at what are some of the stereotypes that women are constantly facing? What are we still hearing? What is antiquated? And you've still got this idea floating around amongst some dude bros of women belong in the kitchen. And I was like, actually, you're right. You just didn't know what you meant by that. what you meant, we're going to ignore because that's misogynistic and nobody cares what you think.
No.
But yes, we do belong in a kitchen. We belong in a kitchen of our own making, first of all, under our own rules, cooking up what we want to cook. And that can be anything from, we're cooking up our own businesses to partnerships to like, when there's a house party happening, the women usually end up congregating in the kitchen and we're debriefing. It's such a tight community moment. And you've got that feeling of sisterhood. And I was like, okay, how do we translate this? But also, how do we take this and kind of reclaim it? Because it's not about, yes, women, belong in the kitchen. We should be barefoot and pregnant. And like, that's where we should keep our opinions. It's, no, we are changing the world. And we're doing that while having to carry so many other things that we never picked up, right? These responsibilities, these as, the oldest sibling. We've got women who are building their businesses while working corporate careers, while supporting their parents, while building their own families, while being mothers, while housing their siblings, like all of these things. Okay, how do we honor that? And so the name is a little bit of all of that. And then that is the environment, that is the type of room that I strive to cultivate with every event that we do.
Wow. Definitely better than the gym. I know I never said that, and I'm so happy that I asked.
Yes. No, I'm so glad you asked too.
It's an onion. This is an onion.
Yes, always
in the
layers.
most positive way.
Oh.
I launched my business about, let's say 5 years ago is whenever I started really listening to that voice. And I did things backwards. I will come on here and I'll confess that and I'll say it openly. I did not know what I did not know. I grew up in an industry of network marketing. Okay. So you're told that if you have a job, you don't have goals or dreams. So I couldn't wait to get out of my job so I wouldn't have that label or feel, because mind you, I did this for 10 years. And I was more in it for the leadership than anything else and the impact that I had with people more than like anything else. But for me, it really wired me to believe that I needed to get out like now. So I did things backwards. And I would hear people tell me, hold on, like pick your niche. Or, you're not doing this right, that you need to do it this way, that way. Everybody had something to say.
Right. They always do.
Nobody gave me a solution. And I'm a very why person. Mm-hmm. I need to know the reasoning behind.
Yes.
And so when people weren't giving me that, I was like, I'm not listening to them. They don't know what they're talking about. I get what they were saying. I understand that they were trying to warn me of what I didn't know, but I didn't have a you in my circle. And oh my gosh, if I could go back, I don't like to use the word wish, but I would have loved to have had you in my circle. Because right now I see this a lot. I am in awe of what people create in communities. For me, building a community, Gutsy behavior is like what I'm really focused on in terms of even in New York or London, wherever it is that life takes me, just building a community of people who are doing gutsy things in their life. It goes beyond creating on Instagram for me. I really want to make that impact. But it starts somewhere. Those offers, the keynotes, the community, everything, it starts somewhere. And it's important that you have somebody who understands how the business operates. And I didn't back then. I do now. I learned the hard way. But my question would be, like for instance, I see creators, for me in the running space, and I say this in the best way and actually like in admiration and inspired by them, people who started running 2 years ago, who are now leaving their corporate jobs to create content online. And they are earning so much money doing something that is so healthy, that is impacting lives, that is spreading positive messages. Where did I miss the mark? As like somebody who grew up running, I never thought that it was something that I could monetize that way. And I now see the benefit of it. But for somebody who has a passion, maybe it's through running, maybe it's through sharing a message of a business, maybe it's through sharing a culinary skill, something. Where would you inspire them or encourage them to start somebody who doesn't know, somebody who doesn't have a you in their circle, maybe is doing something that nobody else in their immediate reach has done before or heard of? Where does that begin? And for it to be successful later?
Oh, that is such a fantastic question. I would start with the mindset piece, to be honest, because it's very interesting timing, how everything works out. But I was having a conversation a couple weeks ago, and somebody said something to me offhandedly and alluding to, like, how does it feel to be the first? And I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, I am. I'm the first woman in my family to start a business. And when I tell you I had not considered that as a reality, like at no point had that struck me.
Really?
And I was like, okay, like that's all right. And I kind of sat back and I knew that I didn't have anybody that was like an immediate touch of you're doing this and that I could look to and say, okay, same. But I didn't realize how deep that ran. And I definitely didn't look at the I'm a huge legacy person. So I didn't fully comprehend what the forward implications of that would be, looking at how that will impact my cousins and my kids and their kids and like what all of that means. So going back to where to start, get really comfortable with the idea that what you're doing will not be understood by the people in your circle. And you will hopefully eventually get to a point where there are people that are the same breed of insane as you are. And when you find those people, it is one of the best feelings. But you've got to have grace, give yourself grace, and have patience, because if you are doing something that's never been done before in your immediate, then it's going to take a minute before you are in that space where people are like, oh yeah, I was the first too. Mm-hmm. And you can look to your left and look to your right and be like, remember that conversation? Remember the first time you had to explain to your mom how you were possibly making this money? Like, remember that? Like, we're all bonded by the trauma of that conversation. So that's where I would start. And then in terms of a more tangible, if we're looking at social media as kind of the vehicle for getting yourself out there, document, don't create. Gary Vee said this, and I was like, yes, exactly. It is the only reason that you see content from me, because that is the shift. Looking at, okay, I need to create content was like, no, I don't want to add another thing. I'm a very ROI driven person, because for me, I never want my time to be wasted on, if I could be spending it with the people that I care about outside of work, then I want to be doing that. I want to be hanging out with my friends. I want to be supporting my family. And if social media initially appeared to be this thing that was not going to be directly tied to revenue, long term, absolutely. But right now in this moment, me putting that photo up that took me, 2 hours to come up with a caption when I could have been playing with my little cousins, like I was like, no, the ROI is higher playing with the cousins. So we play with the cousins. We worry about Instagram later.
I love that.
But when I shifted to, no, document, don't create. You're already doing the thing. You're already doing the thing. And that is what people want to see. So when you don't get caught up in, oh my gosh, where are my people? Algorithms changing every 3 seconds. I don't know what hashtags to use. How do I filter this? Blah, 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 blah. And none of it matters. None of it matters. I was having a conversation with one of my talents a couple nights ago. And we were going back and forth on the differences in engagement when you schedule a post on LinkedIn versus posting it, natively.
Oh.
And because I was like, I'm just curious, like, what differences in your engagement have you seen, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, honestly, I don't see a difference. I've tested both extensively. I don't see a difference. And I was like, that's so interesting, because if we dive deeper, what does that mean? That means that you have found your people, or rather that your people have found you, and that the quality of your content is consistently so high that on some level you have transcended the, challenges and confines of the algorithm, which is what a lot of newer creators tend to use as a handicap. And they're like, well, it's the algorithm. That's why my reach isn't high enough. Exactly, I'm shadow banned. How many times do we hear I'm shadow banned?
Oh my God, no, come on.
No, and I did a video on this a while ago, but it was basically just saying that the algorithm is not your problem, your content is. And I was like, sorry, not sorry. But I tell myself the same thing. If I'm posting things and it's getting low engagement, or I'm getting comments and they're clearly like I'm clearly on the wrong side of the internet, then I'm like, okay, this wasn't speaking to my people. So then I go back and I'm like, okay, well, who was this supposed to be speaking to anyway? So if we narrow down, we bring back to bullet points: mindset. You got to accept that you are doing something that hasn't been done before in your circle. So embrace the lone wolf mentality in the fact that you will need to leave the pack on some level. You will need to break away in order to go places that you've never been before.
Right.
Absolutely necessary. Next, document, don't create. Look at what you're already doing, the life you're already living, and figure out how documenting your journey can fit into that and be a very low friction add onto how you're already existing, versus trying to fit in, okay, I need studio days. I need shoot days. I need a photographer. I need a new camera. No, you don't. No, you don't. And then the third would be figure out who you're talking to. And before you post anything, always ask if that content is speaking to that person. And if it's not, then you probably shouldn't be posting it.
Keeps it very simple when you look at it that way. It's so frustrating. And I love what you say about, Gary Vee, and now you're quoting him on document and not create.
Yes.
Remember when I was living in Dubai, I was doing so many speaking videos, and Dubai was beautiful and I was so inspired. And I was adding one of those like instrumental music thing in the background. Mm-hmm. That was removed. So literally like 40 of my videos were gone.
Yeah.
And I'm now living in the UK, and it hurt my soul. It absolutely hurt my soul. And I said, I am never doing that again, whether it works or not. Sometimes I like risk it and I do it, but I'm like, and I realized that it was so much work, and it felt like it had just gone to the bottom of a trash can where people weren't going to hear my voice anymore or connect with me the same. And it gave me a very different perspective of how much time we spend on these platforms and how sustainable it is. For me, it presents the question, what am I doing beyond that?
Right.
The newsletter, the community, the podcast.
Yeah.
That if everything were to disappear, that if every audio were to be removed, how do I still connect with people? Do you think that there is a very deep importance for that? Do you think that people are doing it enough, that building a community outside of social media? Or do you think that it's something that we still need to progress in?
Absolutely something where we still need to see more progress.
Okay.
And I think I wish that more people were talking about it. Maybe that's a subtle call that I should say something about it, but I'm seeing it more now for sure. Traditional marketing is where my background lies. That's where all of my, kind of education and self-study came from. That's what I dove into. So I was looking at like, how was Wieden and Kennedy running their campaigns for Nike, like their most successful? What did that look like? Finding as much information as I could, obviously, not much that's public. But so I, approach everything with, especially when you're talking about content and when we're hearing so much about algorithm shifting and all the things. We had the, TikTok potentially disappearing entirely in the country. And you've got so many people who have built their entire careers. Their sole source of income is, when you boil it down, one singular platform that they don't own. And so in, looking at building an audience, building a community, the question mark is always, how do I own it used to be, how do I own my subscriber? Because it was very YouTube focused, but how do I own the customer? How do I own the follower? And that is not a possessive, like, you're mine now. But it's if we've connected on some level, there is something about my journey, my content, my voice that has connected with you and is providing value in your life. How do I make sure that I can consistently provide that for you, regardless of what happens outside of my control? So loving seeing newsletters coming back online, from Beehive to, Substack, and all of these has been fantastic. I think it's a great next step. Relatively low lift, especially if you're already a LinkedIn creator. And yeah, I think looking at just ways to diversify. But beyond that, I'd say you've got to be looking at, if you have bigger goals, if you are just on social, because you want to be, like it's just fun, that's totally fine. But if you have bigger goals, aspirations of expanding this community, of doing things globally, of speaking on bigger stages, then you've got to be looking at your content and your social pages as a business.
Yes.
Not just as some place that you post. And what comes with that is, okay, how many touch points can I have with my ideal customer, ideal follower, whoever? And that's where you'll look at, incorporating a newsletter, incorporating, again, diversifying your platforms, long form, short form, start a podcast, maybe. Exactly. So yes, long answer to a short question, but absolutely would love to be seeing that more, because then you're not at the mercy of what happened at Meta headquarters.
It's everything you share is so valuable. So feel free to say the long answer, because I think that there are so many questions out there that people answer, but they don't know the specifics of what creators or the person asking the question are going through.
Right.
And you've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And you are supporting so many talent. You released all these other names.
Yes.
Who you are representing and supporting.
Yeah.
And I want to congratulate you for that, because
thank you.
You're doing big things. And actually, just a little FYI, I'm one of them.
Yes.
But I'm not saying I'm the big one. I'm just saying it's beautiful to see how you're creating a platform also separately to the kitchen.
Yes.
Where you are empowering and guiding people with strong messages.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've been looking for a long time. And when I talk about guiding, that is why I'm asking these questions, because I've been through that with you. We've had these conversations.
Yes.
And I can see how you are different to other people who would give me no, but they wouldn't tell me why.
Right.
Or who would tell me yes, but I was kind of left out into like a blank canvas that I didn't know how to walk.
Yeah.
And your insights are very, very helpful. With all of this success, talent management, the kitchen, other hats that you wear, all the businesses that you've had, have you ever experienced doubt or challenging moments, questioning if you are the right person? How did you navigate that?
Yes to all of the above.
Okay.
I laughed when you asked that, because I did an interview a couple weeks back, and the question was, have you ever experienced basically a situation where you were like, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I looked at him and I was like, is that not a routine? Like, that's an everyday occurrence, at least once a day. Is that not the quintessential
the norm? Like,
part
is it just
of
me
being a founder? Like, I'm confused. So yes, absolutely. And I'm so grateful to be surrounded by such incredible people. And I want to highlight that, because I'm saying, I was in this conversation with so-and-so, I was talking about this, and it is not lost on me that 12-year-old me would have been absolutely mind blown that she had access to these types of people to be having these conversations with, you included. Even, at a baseline of oh my gosh, it's another female founder. You get that. So I wanted to preface with that before I move into this. But one of my friends is an incredible founder, and she offhandedly said to me, this was very, very early on in our relationship. She's like, yeah, I don't believe in imposter syndrome. And I was like, what? Tell me more. That is such an audacious thing for somebody to say, and especially to hear that from a woman. You're like, okay, tell me again how you're dismantling the patriarchy. Talk to me about this. And she's like, yeah, so here's the thing. It's made up. So why would I consciously agree to subscribe to something that the entire construct is meant to cause me self-doubt?
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well, when you put it like that, yeah, you're kind of right. So that had been echoing in my head after she said that. And then I'm absentmindedly scrolling on, Instagram for mental health.
Only for my self-care.
And I see this like meme or whatever, and it said, imposter syndrome is so funny because how are you literally doubting the things that you've done? You've already done it, and you're questioning whether or not it's real or a fluke. Like, you've done it already. It's complete. You've accomplished it, and you're still doubting whether or not you can do it? That doesn't make any sense. And I was like, again, first of all, the volume there was insane. Yelling at me on my phone is just crazy.
Like the audacity.
Right? This was supposed to be my self-care time, and now I'm being screamed at. That's really crazy. But I was like, oh, okay. So this has been a constant evolution for me, and I actually created a course which has not been released ever, but it was called Unlocking You. And it was a course specifically on imposter syndrome and basically dismantling it specifically for women. And I laugh all the time because I'm sure I'll still release something to that point. It'll probably take different shape. But I was like, as I was building that course, it was completed. And then in the next 6 months, basically everything that I thought I knew about my career, about business, about how to move in the professional world, quite literally blew up. And on the other side of that was imposter syndrome that I had never felt before in my life. And I was like, if I had released this course early, like if I had released it when it was done, I would not have been equipped. I would not have had the experience to have the conversations, to hold the space, because I would have been like, no, like on some level, it's just not something that we can subscribe to. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I had doubt, yes, but I never truly felt imposter syndrome, because at the end of the day, I was like I'm Kaiya, of course I'm gonna do it. And I still do move like that. But This is 2.5, 3 years post getting that back. Still working every day to get that back. That like audacious, just like, what do you mean it's not? How could it not work out? Like, it's me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And it's a really challenging place to be, especially if you started with that mentality and then something happened and it broke. And I don't think that when it breaks, you can get that back. I don't think you can fix it fully. I think it's, when you break a bone, the bone never heals exactly the same. It doesn't go back to its original state.
But it builds a little callus.
Yes. So it's understanding how to then move with that new callus, knowing that the bone structure will never be the same as it was when you were born. But you can still move. You can still function, right? You can still operate. So getting back to your question, how I navigate that now is I am a very blunt person. I was talking with my friend the other day, and I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, my self-talk, if anybody else heard it, they'd probably think that I hated myself. But in reality, that is really all I listen to. And so I'm very, very aggressive. I'm very straight to the point. No, you're being lazy right now. Get up. Nobody cares that you're tired. Nobody cares that, that you don't want to do this. That's not the point. Is this moving you closer to or further from? Yep. Period. And then I have my, 5 minutes of like crying in the corner of like, I don't want to do it. And then I, put on my big girl pants and I get it done. So I kind of had to apply that same principle to self-doubt when it pops up. And I say, okay, I'm always somebody who's like, I've got the receipts. If you want to claim that I said something that I didn't say, you should probably think twice about that, because I will literally go back. I will scroll back through the text. I have the screenshots. I have the emails. I have the thing. I have my receipts. I always do.
Note to self, don't mess with Kaiya.
And that honestly came from, I wanted to be able, I shouldn't be saying all this out loud. I wanted to be able to stand on my soapbox, for lack of a better term, and be able to challenge and know that I had my research. I had my receipts behind me. So if I'm going to challenge you, if I'm going to say, Claudia, you said this thing in your keynote, and fantastic keynote, but that stat actually isn't accurate, then you better believe if I'm coming to you all loud with that, then I know I have 6 different articles backing up why that stat is not accurate. Because I'm not going to disrespect you and call you out and say, no, that stat wasn't accurate. And then you're like, oh, Interesting.
What is the answer?
According to my research, it was. So where did you get that from? And it doesn't even have to be confrontational. It's just a very like, okay, well, if you're going to tell me I'm wrong, then you better have the right answer. Like you can't just tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that stemmed from. And so I applied that to myself and I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to look at myself and say, I'm nervous about speaking on this panel. Okay, why are you nervous about speaking on the panel? Is it that you've never done it before? No. Is it that you have a fear of public speaking? No. Is it that you don't know what you're going to be talking about? No. Is it that you don't think you're qualified? No. Okay, so then why are you giving energy to this then? Because there's no basis for it. And if the answer to any of those questions is yes, then how do we address that? If you don't think you're qualified, then you could not be. That's okay. This could be a panel that, maybe it's speaking on things that are not related to your niche or the work that you've done or your career, but you were still tapped for the opportunity. So why? So then we ask that question. Why am I here? Why did you think I was right for this? Why did I think I was right for this if I just, was shooting my shot? Like, how did we get to this place? There's got to be some level of fact and truth to this somewhere. So when you're experiencing self-doubt, which is in most cases an emotional response, it's not a logical response. That's not based in fact.
Right.
Then I go back to the fact and sometimes I have to find it. Sometimes I got to dig a little bit. But I find the fact, and then I'm like, okay, well, regardless of how I feel about it, nobody cares because I already made the commitment for XYZ to show up to the thing, to make the introduction, to speak on the panel, to do the podcast. I already made the commitment. And one thing that will never be acceptable in the house that I grew up in is going back on your word. So if you made a commitment, come hell or high water, you are going to honor that commitment. So I'm like, all right, well, that's how we move. So rooting in fact.
Wow.
Rooting in fact, get your receipts, whatever the thing is that works for you, but something that can anchor you to what is real versus what is not. What is real versus the story that you're telling yourself.
I'm so happy that you're sharing this because it's one of the first exercises that I do with my coaching clients. It's one of the first modules in my course. I talk about giving yourself the receipts for why you can, for why it's for you, for why you are the right person. And I do believe that a lot of people subscribe to a narrative that doesn't have anything to do with who they truly are. And you start listening to these voices or these people who tell you that you can't or you're not the right person. And it becomes a belief. It's deep in there. It becomes a paradigm. And it's time to change it. Yeah. And it's completely up to you if you're going to let it tear you down or build you up. When I was, as you say this, I'm thinking about when I was leaving my teaching career. And I had been at this one school I was going into my third and last year. And a colleague of mine, whom I considered my friend, and we had worked closely, I told him, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is going to be my last year. And he looked at me dead in the eye and said, you've said this for 3 years. You're not going anywhere. I've been here for 10 years. I also wanted to leave and I haven't. You're not going to go anywhere. And he meant it and he said it. There wasn't any like, ha 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 about this. And I was like, well, I'll be damned. Excuse my language. I was like, absolutely not. What happens is that you have a choice to subscribe to that narrative where someone or an experience is really just showing what is happening within them. And now you make it your reality. And now you subscribe to that quote unquote imposter syndrome. Like you said, it's something that was created. It's a term that somebody said it was. And then all of a sudden it is, no, it shouldn't. And I think that is where the power lies. And when you talk about the why, funny enough, when I do that with people, like the why, it always comes down to self-esteem and self-worth. Even just like for me, one of my, and this is still a struggle for me, I am the girl who's like a one-trip girl from the groceries. I don't care if my parents are there. I don't care if my boyfriend, who's way stronger than me, is there. I want to carry it all. I am the person who, if I go out with my friends, I throw my card in there. I used to go on dates, and one guy told me that I didn't need a man because I acted like one.
Ooh.
And I was like, why am I like this? Why do I struggle with people's time and energy
Mm-hmm.
and just moments that they give me. And I realized, and I was like, or like networking. I used to think that I wasn't good at it. Why am I not good at it? And it all came down to the fact that I didn't feel worthy of people's time and energy for whatever reason that was. It's a whole different story.
Mm-hmm.
But you start telling yourself this and it hinders the journey. I went so many, I'm talking years without seeking help, being embarrassed that somebody would say no, that they wouldn't give me the answer, that they wouldn't respond to the DM or the email. But in reality, it's like people like you who you're saying, you look like you've got this sorted. I have a few questions. Can you help me?
Yeah.
That takes courage and guts.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What is a gutsy thing that you've done in your life that has gotten you to where you are right now? Because I talk about gutsy behavior.
Yes.
It's usually that one moment, that one instance. What's that gutsy move that you did for yourself?
Yeah. Ooh, there have been so many, honestly. And I think that this is a common thing. Like I was at one point definitely preteen, had some deep-seated insecurities. Growing up as a Black girl in the South will do that to you, especially I danced ballet. So
okay.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be.
Right. That'll do that to you. And there were some things that I really definitely did not unpack, did not acknowledge, because I am a very like, it's not that serious. Come on. Like, let's go. Let's keep going. And so it wasn't until, things will always come back. The universe will make sure that you learn the lesson. And so it wasn't until I kept seeing these things kind of popping up and I was like, oh, okay, well, why is that a thing for me? And I am not somebody like, when people ask, oh, what are you afraid of? There are really only two things. And I've worked really, really hard to make that the length of the list because I look at things that you're scared of as weaknesses. Things that you're scared of are the things that are standing in between you, who you are at present, and who you want to be. And I think, especially now, people see me at events, they see me doing certain things, hanging out with certain people, having certain conversations, getting certain partnerships, and they're like, you're just fearless. Like, this is easy for you. And I'm like, no, actually, I was terrified to send that email. Like, metaphorically shaking in my boots. But two things. One, I firmly believe, and every positive negotiation that I've ever had has only come after I made an ask that terrified me on some level. And so I always say, especially when you're negotiating, if you are not terrified about what you're asking for, think the number's too big, think you're asking for too much. If you're not terrified, if you're comfy and you're like, no, this is good, like this makes sense, then you're not asking for enough. You're not asking for enough. And so when I'm negotiating and I'll send through the number and I get an immediate yes back, I'm like, I left some on the table. It's an immediate indicator that I left some on the table. If you don't have to go back to so-and-so and ask for permission, you don't have to say, you're not, even if you're trying to give me the runaround and just buy yourself time and you had the space in the budget. If I don't get some form of pushback, then I'm immediately concerned. And I know that there was for sure extra budget, extra resources that I did not ask for that you had to give. So if I'm not terrified on some level when I make the ask, then I'm not asking for enough. And I remind myself of that internally. But when I am up in these situations or against these opportunities in these rooms with people, like I, look across the room and I'm like, you're here? Like you and I were invited to be in the same room together. That's insane. But also, don't tempt me with an opportunity. So you put me in the room, then I ask myself, okay.
I love you. This is so
Thank you. I'm glad. I hope this is valuable. I ask myself, okay, am I more terrified to go approach so-and-so? Or am I more terrified of the reality that I will have to live in, knowing that I had this opportunity, that I begged and clawed my way, worked my ass off to get, to be at a place where I could be in this room, and I had the opportunity literally right in front of me at my fingertips, and I didn't do anything with it. What? Because I was scared? Because I thought they were going to say no, because I thought they were going to ignore me, because they have 6 million Instagram followers. Like, are you kidding me? And then I project and I say, okay, well, me in 5 years, looking back, am I really going to look back and think to myself, yeah, it was probably a good move that I didn't approach them because they were Insta famous? That saved me for sure.
No.
Come on. No. But I could absolutely look back and say, oh my God, if I had had that conversation with them, if I had just planted the seed, and then I had followed up on what we'd built in the kitchen in 30 days and let them know that we'd just done this amazing event. Like, they're the head of a multi-million-dollar corporation. I'm sure they would have loved to be in at the grassroots level and be involved in some way with what we were building.
Yeah.
But now we've been building this for 6 years. We're not at the same place. They're not at the same place. Like, that could have been an opportunity lost. So I'm always looking at, is it more terrifying to do the scary thing right now or to live in the reality where I didn't do the scary thing? Because any decision you make, there are consequences too. So am I more scared of having the conversation, going up to the person, or not?
Wow. That is a question that I wish every person asked themselves, or I would love for every person to ask themselves. For me, one day, maybe you can relate to the theme of this. I was some sort of like daydreaming, and I am not afraid of dying. Actually, I post a video and I'm like, if I die right now, these videos are good. I've done something. A podcast episode was fine.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I approach it, which is kind of morbid. My mom's like, you're so morbid, no. And I'm like, Mom, I want to make a difference in the world.
No, but I love that though. I love that because memento mori. And it's the constant reminder of your mortality, not to be used as a fear tactic, but to remind you to do what you're here to do with what you have right now, because you don't know if you'll be here in 30 seconds, 5 minutes, or 5 days. Exactly. So I love that. Continue.
I mean, it's not granted.
Yes.
First, and then, so I had this daydream.
Yeah.
Where I had already passed and gone to another life, and I am standing before God, and He has a woman who looks a lot like me, but is not me, next to Him. And I tell Him all the things that I did, and He tells me what I did. We kind of go through all the receipts. And then He tells me, this is who you were meant to become. But you didn't become your plan A because you were scared, because you doubted. And this is like, I am sitting in college in my dorm having this daydream of like what could be of my life. And I believe that we're taken care of on different levels. In New York, you see it. Okay? Like, New York has given me a different perspective of this. You can look up and you're like $150 million apartments. And then you look around you and you're like, what is happening? You're being taken care of on different levels. You choose what level that's going to be on. And that, to me, is one of the things that I'm so happy that you said this, because we connect on that. And I hear you and I see you when you say that. What if the fear, the doubt, the I'm not good enough, the I'm going to pretend I didn't just have that whisper in my ear, push me to my plan B and C and D. And I left the best relationship and family that I could possibly have, the 7-8-figure income that changed my life and that of many people, not mine. It's beyond me. What if I was able to do something so huge for the world, but I didn't because of that instant fear that I had? And that's what's driven me. And I'm so happy to hear like what you're saying right now, because I can hear that you're living in purpose, and it's not something that comes by all the time.
Yeah. Wow.
But this is why you and I cross paths.
Yeah, absolutely.
You talk about perfect timing. For those of you listening, Kaiya, I was going to sign with Kaiya back in the summer. And then another something came up into my life, and I just didn't have the mental bandwidth to pursue different things. So we hit the brakes, and our friendship continued, our relationship continued, but it was like, not now. I'm coming back from Long Island on the train. Mind you, like, talk about ideal timing. I go to Grand Central, I go to the restroom, and I change however many minutes or seconds that took. I leave walking down Fifth Ave, or one of these Aves. I think it was Fifth Ave. Yeah, it was Fifth Ave. And you're like, Claudia? It's like, what in the world?
Well, hold on, because it wasn't that cute. Because Claudia is now she's stepped into her New Yorker.
My New Yorker?
And it was hilarious. And I was actually so proud because
that makes me happy.
This woman, head down, does not look up. She was still walking. She was still going where she was going. And it was not until I stepped over in front of her and then she looked up. And then she was like, okay, no, I do know you. Okay, it's fine. It's okay. So that was a very, very funny moment. I was like, oh, you've really been living here, huh?
Yeah.
It's really sunk it in.
That warms my heart, and that's refreshing because one time at Central Park, I think it was like a day before, like that week, I saw a little baby rat and I was on the phone and I was like, oh my God, I have some chickens. Should I feed it? And my friend was like, you need to live here longer if you want to like feed the rats. She's like, what is this? But yeah, I mean, it's that timing.
Yes.
And I believe it's a big teller of our journey. I don't believe that things happen on accident.
No.
In Spanish, we say coincidencia, and I say diosidencia, like a God incidence, or whatever it is that people believe. I feel like it's there for the right moment. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, this is, and I was already thinking about you like weeks before.
Yeah.
But I hadn't taken the time to send the message.
Yeah.
And then here we are. But it's just to finalize, I have a few more questions.
Yeah.
What drives your purpose? Like, what makes you wake up? What makes you build these businesses and these platforms? Not only for yourself, but for people, because you're doing it for people. I don't see where you're highlighting yourself immensely. I see where you highlight others, which isn't very common.
Interesting. What gets me out of bed in the morning is working towards being the person that I wish I had when I was little. That is my North Star, has been my North Star for a long time. And for a while, I was the only girl in my cousin came along. Now, years ago, she's 14. And that was the first kind of physical manifestation of, oh, this is what the next looks like. This is in our family, the next girl that like with the curly hair and the innocent eyes.
I love that.
And, you know, a world of possibilities in front of her. This is what this looks like. What do I want her to see? And that has been my driving force for so long, still is, and is kind of the litmus, I guess, that I run every decision and, you know, next thing through. But I had somewhere I was going with that. I had another thing. So being the person that I wish I had when I was younger absolutely is at the forefront. And it's been very interesting now as this journey has continued. And there are a lot of things that have kind of not necessarily, well, I guess come to a head this year that I've been working on for a long time that like now people see. And like I said, I'm a very head down, like, okay, yes, we acknowledge, we look up for a second, like, oh, that was cool, did that, check, back to work. Because the next milestone is like, we don't get there unless we keep moving. So we got to keep moving.
Yes.
Also, if you're in a race and you've got the lead and you just stop, the other people in the other lanes, they're still running. So if you want to win the race, you've got to keep
going.
So it's been very interesting because I was talking to my mom the other day, and I was like, you know what's really, really weird is I had always had these grand plans, this vision of the type of impact that I want to have in the world, the way that I want to be able to help people and lift up. And for me, from the beginning, that is never equated to my face on magazines and like, you know, Hollywood star, billboards. Like, no, I just wanted to be able to connect with good people. And I want to be able to, you know, go to a restaurant and just casually like leave a $10,000 tip because I connected with the server and like she's an incredible person. And, you know, she has not gotten to the same point in life in her journey yet as I am. And I want to be able to do that and walk out, you know, with my hoodie on. And like, it's not about accolades or acknowledgement or any of that. However, all that to say, I had never thought to myself, what if people see you doing these things? And over the past year or so, there's been a lot more attention on me than I ever thought there would be. And it's been a very weird thing to navigate because I never, like, yes, I want to be on stage. I want to be doing keynotes. I love public speaking.
And you're phenomenal at it, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, give me the mic. Like, absolutely. But outside of that, like, I'm a step on stage, give the keynote, drop the mic. I'm gonna hop in my car and like I'm going back home, or I'm going to go hang out with my friends casually. Like we're gonna, go play whatever, go for a nice mental health walk, like whatever.
Yeah.
So now being at the point where, and I feel like this is very much tip of the iceberg, but like I was at an event at somebody else's event. So weird. I was at somebody else's event and somebody came up to me at the bar. I'm like with my friend who I came with and we're talking, catching up, and somebody taps me on the shoulder, and I'm a New Yorker. So I'm like, hold on, back up.
No.
Exactly. And I turn around and she's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if you remember me. We met very briefly at this event a couple weeks ago. I just wanted to come up and say hi. I've been looking at your work. And I was like, huh? I'm so sorry. What?
Oh.
You wanted to come up to me? Okay. And like, if you meet me in person, like I had somebody at one point tell me, she was like, oh my gosh, you're the same in person as you are online. And I was like, why wouldn't I be? Like,
not everybody is.
What else would I be? I don't have the energy to be something else. Are you kidding me? I just told you that I can barely make my own content, which is literally just documenting the life I'm already living. Imagine me trying to make content in a different character, like, and then having to keep up that persona. Absolutely not. What you see is what you get. The way I post on LinkedIn, that is me. If you run into me in real life, I am exactly the same way, maybe a little more aggressive.
To add a little notch.
But yeah, that visibility and the extra eyes and the attention has been very, very odd to come to terms with. So if anybody who's listening to or watching this ever interacts with me in real life, and you get a tinge of like weirdness, it's not that I don't want to interact with you. I'm probably just shook. That's probably it. Yeah.
That's happening.
Exactly.
You're making an impact.
Yeah, apparently.
And that's what it is.
Apparently. Which is crazy.
It is. It's funny what a screen can do and what the power of a microphone can do. It doesn't matter if it's a lav mic, a Shure mic, a microphone on stage. A microphone does something psychologically in the other person that helps them really connect with you on a deeper level and really just take your insights or what you share. I love that you share that, and you deserve all of that. You deserve for people to connect with you because you work really hard for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Last question.
Yes.
What would you say to somebody who wants to live in their purpose? They want to do something gutsy in their life. Mm-hmm. They want to have gutsy behavior. We talk about that on the podcast, on Instagram. What is that thing that you would say to just push them off the cliff, for them to spread their wings and just take that leap of faith?
Yeah. Well, before we get into that, because you saying gutsy behavior reminded me that I didn't fully answer your question. Okay. Because you were asking me about something gutsy that I had done that altered the trajectory, and we went on a whole different tangent.
That's cool. We've got time.
Something gutsy that I've done, honestly, I'd say there have been a lot. But what immediately comes to mind is starting the talent management agency.
Atta girl.
Yeah. This was never the plan. I mean, it was never my plan. Apparently, it was the plan. But that's a different thing. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Never something that I planned for, but as I said, don't tempt me with an opportunity. And the opportunity was there. And I was like, well, an opportunity and a challenge. I love quite literally nothing more. So I jumped and was terrified the whole time and ended up doing some pretty cool things. But yeah, I think that for sure shifted the trajectory. Absolutely.
Congratulations.
There is another thing actually.
Please.
That's pretty cool.
Please.
And he knows part of this now. I don't think he knows the whole thing. But I went to an event a couple months ago. I had been like connected to this person and following their work. Didn't know them, didn't directly know anybody who know that, so I thought, and happened to be in the same city, and I see that he is speaking at this event. The only reason that I was going to this event was for him. I was like, okay, and that's usually how I will outline my events or networking. If I'm not going directly to support a friend or somebody else, then I'm going because I've got clear goals. I want to connect with you. I want to meet you. I want to, whatever. So going to this event for this speaker, and I had been mingling around the room. There were a bunch of people that I knew that were there that I didn't know were going to be there. So it was kind of a reunion. Hey guys, let's chat. And I'm supposed to be meeting my cousin for dinner on really the other side of the city, and left more than enough time had I been watching my watch. And I look at it and I'm like, so I should have left like 20, 30 minutes ago.
Ooh.
Got it. So we're going to figure this out. It'll be fine. And I'm literally getting ready to leave. I'm beelining for the door. And I was like, but he was the only person I was supposed to talk to tonight. And I have not spoken to him. So I had a split second. Again, I do not know this man. This man does not know me. He's in the middle of a conversation with 3 other people. And I just so happened to be walking behind him because I see that's the way to the exit. And I'm like, I still didn't talk to you. I tap him on the shoulder. And I said, hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm so late for a dinner reservation, so I've got to go. This is not a Hollywood thing, me trying to like cause a scene and then dramatically exit, promise. But I'm very familiar with your work. We should know each other. You're going to be in this city at this event, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I'll be there too. Find me. And then he was like, okay, deal. We handshook. I left. If you ask me where that came from, no clue. No idea.
I love that. I mean, if you said that to me, I'd fall in love with you and then I'd follow you out the door. Like, who is this?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. That's gutsy.
Yeah.
That is gutsy. I mean, it's that, like thinking that somebody is, see, I'm so excited. I'm shifting the whole studio set here.
You're shifting the whole.
I'm going to head outside the window. Yeah, like it's that opportunity, like that wasted second or completely shift in your journey.
Yes.
You take it or you leave it. And you took it.
I took it.
Woo!
Absolutely. Like I said, don't tempt me with an opportunity.
Yeah. You can't ignore that whisper in your ear. You just cannot.
No. And I was like, okay, well, what's scarier? Like approaching this guy? Now, keep in mind, he was standing next, there are pictures he posted from the event. I saw those photos being taken. I was like right next to the photographer. This was at the beginning of the event. So I could have spoken to him then, but I didn't. And that's the other thing in my head is I'm like, okay, if I have these repeat exposures, because I'm a huge proponent for if it's meant for you, it'll find you. But also when the opportunity presents itself, don't kid yourself in thinking you will get it again. Because if you tell the universe that you don't want it, the universe is not going to bring it back to you until you have shifted that. But then there's no guarantee you're going to have the same access. There's no guarantee it's going to come, the same way, that there won't be more tests that you need to pass in order for it to reappear. So I was like, okay, well, I'm in the room with you. That's first. Got it. I'm in the room with you because I happen to be in the right city at the right time and I got in. Okay. First barrier. Now you are quite literally standing next to me / in front of me. And I didn't speak to you then, but I could have. Okay, that's my one pass that I'll give myself. Because usually, especially if it's a speaker, like I know you're not leaving the event before you get on stage, in most cases. So that's, in most cases. So that's the pass that I give myself of like, okay, we can be a little nervous, we can have our little emo moment, go do some woo-saws, and then pull on your big girl pants. And like you are wearing real pants and heels. So you better get business done because you don't want to be in heels and you probably would rather be in sweats.
And you don't want to waste this outfit.
Right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So yeah, then the next opportunity, I was like, all right, well, either I've got to stay and blow off my cousin for dinner, or I need to figure out how to make this happen while also leaving. So there we go.
And you made it happen. And you connected later?
Yes.
Amazing.
I signed him.
Oh.
I signed him like a month and a half later.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Which was not my plan at all. That was another thing. Fact checking myself. Yeah, I don't have anybody on my roster that I had a plan going into connecting with them, like, initially, whether it was cold outreach or text or whatever, where I was like, oh, I'm going to sign you. I'm a human connection person. So I'm like, if I like you, I think, like I said, with why you were invited to the event to begin with, you seem like you were cool, doing cool things. You seem like you were a good person. You got a fantastic smile that is like a from your soul smile, not a, oh, headshots, like you're a good person inside. That warmth radiates.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I say, yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, thank
yes,
you.
I absolutely.
I mean, yes, I'm listening.
So those types of people I'm always looking to connect with. And I'm like, if there's anything that I can do to help you, or any way that I can be helpful, or we can just get a coffee or a tea or whatever, not go for a run, but we could go for a walk.
Or don't tempt me with an opportunity to get you into running.
Many have tried.
It wasn't me though. It wasn't me.
Ooh, okay. Okay, we'll see. Now, if you say meet me on the track, let's do some sprints.
Niagara, I'm out.
I'm down.
I'm sick that day.
See, I'm down.
My hamstring already hurts.
But if you're talking about, let's do a quick 3 miles. For what? Why? I can guarantee the runner's high that you talk about could not be high enough. Also, are you really getting a runner's high over 3 miles? I was going to say, I probably would. But that would actually be probably some form of painkiller after the hospitalization from running 3 miles. So yeah, let's not do that.
Okay, let's keep it to coffee and walks.
We could do a spirited walk. I will walk fast with you.
Okay.
Or we can sprint. But that in between is just not for me.
Okay, all right, cool.
It's not for me.
Polar opposites. That's gonna be it. Exactly. Okay. Oh man.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what would you tell the people who want to do something gutsy? I killed the energy.
Just send it. No, I was laughing because the initial thing that I thought of, I'll tell you when we stop recording, and then we can laugh about it, but there's no way you can.
Sorry guys, this is an A and B conversation.
Yeah, no. Send it. Say yes, figure the rest out later.
Okay.
If I look back at the most insane things truly that I have dedicated myself to, they came after I had this year. My mom read Shonda Rhimes, her book, The Year of Yes. I still have not read it, which I think is very funny. But I heard the title. My mom told me the summary. I was like, ooh, love that concept. I got the Cliff Notes, kind of don't know that I need to read it. I'm just going to apply it, to be honest. So I heard that, and then I heard Grant Cardone, and he was like, yeah, say yes, figure the rest out later. And I was like, that's insane. Okay. And I was like, all right, from literally right now, this day forward, and it was supposed to be for a year, I'm just going to say yes and figure the rest out later. So whenever I have any friction of oh, I'm scared, imposter syndrome, whatever, no, say yes, figure the rest out later. It doesn't have to make sense. But if the opportunity presents itself, you say yes. And then if the opportunity presented itself, that means you were ready. So it's going to work itself out. But if you don't say yes, then you never get to that point where it works itself out. So you got to say yes, and then it'll happen somehow. So say yes, figure the rest out later.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. How can people connect with you? Give me websites, accounts, emails. How can they connect with you?
Yes. So I am chronically online. Exactly. So you can find me pretty much anywhere on the interwebs. Don't look on X. I'm there. I have an account. You won't find me there though. I'm on Threads, the Kaiya Williams, Instagram, the Kaiya Williams, TikTok, the Kaiya Williams. We love consistency. My website is KaiyaWilliams.com. And then LinkedIn, also Kaiya Williams.
We'll
and
tag
then
them down below.
Yes, all the things. And I'll share all of this everywhere as well. So you'll see it there. And then my email address is just kaya@kawmanagementgroup.com. So if you want to get in touch with me there, drop me a line, ask some questions. We can always chat there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Chatting with you is always a pleasure. But you're currently also, we forgot to mention, you're living in multiple places around the world right now.
That is correct.
So just very quickly, can you say where that is? You're all over.
Yeah, so technically I live in Portugal, but I split time between Portugal and here. And honestly, I say that I'm wherever I need to be, but Portugal and New York are the main two right now.
So for us, being in person doesn't doesn't come by
Exactly.
as often as I would like.
Yeah, no, same. But that's because you keep trying to make me run. And so I have to be careful. I've got to make sure that you're not in like leggings or any type of, you don't have a sneaker nearby. Yeah. That's the only way that I'm agree to meet with you.
I love it. Oh no, seriously, thank you so much. Make sure to connect with Kaiya and on all the platforms. They're all going to be linked down below. Any questions you have for her, send her a DM. Tell her how much you love the episode, because I already love the conversation and I can't wait to hear back from you as well. Yeah. As always, don't forget to keep being the optimal leader of your life. I love you. I believe in you. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.